Due to our interest in ICEA 2018 and having made a bid, we were invited to participate in the ICEA 2016. Now, this was really interesting. The ICEA that took place in Hong Kong, at first made us realize that there was this entire network of practicing artists and scholars in media art and digital art. And a lot of the work at the time was really high tech. And we knew our context. So at first we were quite intimidated and started to think that perhaps we couldn't pull off ICEA 2018. It was really then that I met Professor Andrea Machado from Lab Inter at the Federal University of Santa Maria in Brazil. Fast forward a year later, we met again in Colombia, and this time it was really important because what we saw there was that media art and digital art is not just technological, right? So it's not just about the technology. We also learned that it's not just about high tech, and that there's a space in between that means that we at DigiFest, what we were trying to do could possibly be achieved over a period of time. Around the same time, there were other attempts at really promoting innovation, interdisciplinarity, and co-creation, which the faculty initiated, not least of which was the second project, which was a project with the Namibia University of Science and Technology and their Fab Lab. So even though they seem like disparate projects and there were different people working on it, what we're trying to do is start to build capacity around, well, one, interest in and capacity around digital art and media art in particular. And around, so that took us really into 2017, so that by 2018, we were able to showcase a media art project at ICEA 2018, and we showcased two that year. And I think what we'll hear today is more about the projects that were undertaken from the first project in 2017, which showcased at DigiFest. We then worked a bit more on that project, showcased at ICEA 2018. And then last year, we began work on a different project, which is what you'll hear about today as well, and then also the contribution this year. Now, what I want to sort of reflect on before I hand over is the importance of collaboration, and I think it's shown to us that when we begin a process of collaboration, it's really important looking at finding the right partners. So for us, we needed a partner, one, who would understand our context. We are a country with great inequalities. In fact, we're the most unequal society on earth. We know that we have a digital divide, so we knew there were going to be problems. We know that most of us have not been introduced to technology in school, and that obviously plays a role in what we, in our understanding of the affordances, but also what we then use when we come to university. And we also knew that there was a level of resistance given a focus on traditional art. And we appreciated all of this. So we needed to find a partner that understood this. And it was really through the engagements with practicing artists and scholars from the global south that it became very clear to me that really there is a sort of wide network that we can draw on. Now, colleagues in Brazil really did stand out. And we met with Professor Andrea Oliveira, who really took an interest in the work that we're doing, could relate to our context, could give us advice on how we might begin from ground zero, as it were, from scratch, to start building capacity in this area, and hopefully, when we'll talk about that towards the end, have a media art lab. So with that, just giving the context, and I'm hoping from the speakers that you will hear from today, that they will also reflect on some of the really interesting outcomes, not just in terms of the projects, but also the process of co-creation. So with that, I really want to hand over to my colleague, Professor Andrea Machado, who is from Lab Inter at the Federal University of Santa Maria in Brazil. Thank you, and over to you, Andrea.
Okay, so good afternoon to everyone. I am Andrea Oliveira, professor at Federal University of Santa Maria and chair of Lab Inter, an interdisciplinary interactive lab. And I'm very happy to collaborate once again with Professor René Schmidt and the team from Durban University of Technology. Briefly, I will talk about our first joint project called Same Same But Different. It starts with an invitation from Professor René to work in an interdisciplinary team in DUT. This project brings together people from fine arts, engineering, computer science, and video to create one interactive electronic art. So the project deals with the access of information through a metaphor of access of water. This project, you participated with this project in DigiFest 2017 and after in IZEA 2018. You can change it. So this is in DigiFest 2017. So we developed a first part of the project. And when I come back to Brazil, you can continue. We continue to developing the project with Labinter. So it was a great idea to keep working together through internet like we are doing now. And in this second part of the project, we developed this interactive installation using Arduino and other devices. We applied this project, we submitted the project to IZEA, and in 2018, which you can change it, we presented the project in IZEA. The project had three parts. One was some videos that was done in Santa Maria in Brazil and another's in Durban. And it was about access of information because it's a big issue in both countries. Please change it. The second part was an interactive installation. So we created one immersive environment that had the sound of water. And people answered some questions regarding access to information that pointed out the amount of water that each person deserved. So it's a little bit funny, the reaction of people. And it was through electronic devices. And also we had one augmented reality part of the project. So how we enjoyed a lot work together, and I agree with everything that Professor René said before, that the importance to find the partnerships and to understand the context of the countries that we are working. So we continue working together in this full dome project called Virtual Monuments 2019 that will be presented now. So I would like to address three aspects common to Same Same But Different, to Virtual Monuments, and to our current project. The first is the interinstitutional nature of the projects. They are joint collaborative projects between Durban University of Technology and Federal University of Santa Maria that starts in 2017 with Same Same But Different project. In 2019, we have also involved the Federal University of Ceará in Virtual Monuments project. And in 2020, the Federal University of Bahia with CounterMonuments Full Dome proposal. The partnership between Brazil and South Africa is very gratifying for me personally and for the students. And we have looked forward to continue to provide opportunities for internships to professors and students. Second, they have all been interdisciplinary projects, which go back to 2011 between Labinter and various departments: visual arts, acoustic engineering, computer science, architecture, electronic music, and design. Third, They have all been collaborative projects. Each one has been an opportunity to learn together and through each other, to build stronger relationships based on trust, respect, and affection, and not just about the efficiency of getting things done, but to think about our fundamental problems and actualize potentials, to share collective authorship, and to work together in between Portuguese and English languages, that sometimes it's a big challenge. Our projects have been shown in different events at IZEA in 2010, at Art Collaboration Technology Lab Inter Exposition in 2018, at Art Electronic Arts International Event in the Planetarium in Buenos Aires in 2019, in Ephemera, that's an international full dome event that Matheus Moreno in Lab Inter organized, at Video Map event in 2019 in UFSM, at DigiFest in 2019 too. The projects have been presented in international conferences, and academic articles have been published in proceedings and journals. So I think you can all be very proud about our accomplishment, and I really look forward to continue to work creatively together. So thank you all.
Thank you, Andrea, for that. I'm going to invite Leander, who was had visited Brazil last year and was part of the conceptualization of this particular project. So he's going to tell us a little bit more about that experience and working with Lab Inter and how that culminated in this project.
Okay. So yes, I'm Leander Zindela, and I worked on both same but different and virtual monuments as a fine artist, but also as a postgraduate student participant / organizer. And so in late 2018, I was afforded the opportunity to travel to Brazil to see the Federal University of Santa Maria, as well as meet the members of Lab Inter, and also see the planetarium that is present at the Federal University of Santa Maria on their premises. And so we first experienced a few dome projections inside of the planetarium, and then proceeded to brainstorm together, myself as well as the members of Lab Inter. We proceeded to brainstorm on ways in which we would use or could use dome projection to sort of transform these planetarium spaces into interactive pieces of virtual art. And so we, through a lot of brainstorming and discussion between myself and the students and staff at Lab Inter, we sort of arrived at a shared interest around monuments, or the act of monumentalizing, the sort of memories that monuments carry. And so I'm going to try to be as brief as I possibly can. And so I was particularly interested by this description of monuments by Professor Sabine Marshall, where she states that monuments are public institutions through which selected narratives and associated groups can gain visibility, authority, and legitimacy. But there are also sites where perhaps previously invisible differences can become evident. They are the loci of private contemplation and mourning, as well as public rituals of commemoration and stage performances and paying tribute, hence serving as sites for the transgenerational transmission of valued memories. And so we were interested in sort of exploring the idea of these monuments as spaces for the sort of creating and maintaining of shared memories, but also determining those memories to be valuable. And so for me, the thing that was really interesting about this project was another quote by Catherine Mitchell, where she says that memory is bound with power, and both memory and its corollary, forgetting, are hegemonically produced and maintained, never seamlessly or completely, but formidably and powerfully nonetheless. And so we arrived at a shared interest around the idea of monuments and power, and the power that comes with determining what is being remembered by who has the power to deem these things worth remembering. And so we were interested in sort of finding ways to use virtual dome projection as a way of challenging the use of monuments by people or institutions in positions of power to sort of fix or dictate what shared memory should be. And so, yeah, that became the sort of starting point for us moving forward in terms of what the project should be. And so for me personally, it also touched on my sort of interests around ways in which monuments are being challenged today, but also ways in which monuments are being created virtually as well, as a way of challenging the sort of power dynamics, or placing emphasis on counter narratives, or even the creation of counter monuments. And so that's where, essentially for me, that's where the project began, where we were interested in using the act of remembering or the act of creating monuments to draw attention to people, events, cultural practices, or even forms of heritage that have either been overlooked at best, or at worst have either been marginalized or completely rendered completely invisible. And yeah, that's kind of where the conceptualizing process began. Tasneem?
Thank you, Yanda. I'm sure that experience in Brazil was very interesting, and especially working within the laboratory and meeting the other students and the people that were involved in that process. And we have one of those students who was involved and was there at the same time as you, Guto, who will also share some of that experience and that interaction that y'all had while you were in La Vinta. So I'm going to hand over to Guto.
Okay, hello, thank you all so much. I hope you can hear me clearly. So my name is Luis Augusto, but people tend to call me Guto, which is great. And I was part of the whole process of creation of the Virtual Monuments project. I am a student of acoustical engineering on the Federal University of Santa Maria. So I bring some of the more technical and the audio side to the whole project. First and foremost, I would like to thank all of you for the great project and the great collaboration. It was a real joy. It was actually great. And meeting Luyanda and the whole collaboration and brainstorming process was just really, really fruitful, because we bring different backgrounds and we discuss things which maybe from one perspective it is invisible. And when we join together and collaborate on such a project, it becomes richer, of course. It becomes a greater project, in my opinion. So what Luyanda brought to the table was really, really interesting. First and foremost, the whole attention and detail and attention to sound that Luyanda brought in, and how he mentioned how sound is a very important part of the communication in South Africa. pertaining to his group, and how they use sound to communicate and do certain like percussive elements. It was really interesting to actually listen and to engage in such experiences. Overall, just a absolutely great experience, and I really enjoyed it, and it was really fruitful. And furthermore, I would like to add about what is my part of the whole process, my job in Lab Inter and all of this project, which is creating audio and doing audio design and mixing for this video arts, this audio visual arts. So I think one of the most important aspects of this whole audio creation is how we conceptualize the spatialization of audio. So we typically listen to audio in a stereophonic way. So we listen to with two channels reproducing audio, which is, of course, the headphone configuration, which is the most common way to listen to audio. But in the full dome environment, we have more than two loudspeakers which reproduce sound. We have in the university 5 loudspeakers which create a 5.1 system. This was great because we could use more spatialization of audio, and we could reproduce a more intricate, with more information and more spatial information, which is just really immersive and really cool. Actually, it's really nice to work in this type of format. Furthermore, this year we faced a challenge due to the pandemic, of course, which is we were not going to present in a dome environment, and we would present virtually. So we made use of spatialization techniques, which have been gaining popularity in the past years, mainly called the ambisonics technique, which is a great mathematical tool to allow us to spatialize audio in headphones. It is most commonly used in what's called commonly the binaural sounds and sound reproduction, which just emulates how your head interacts with sound and makes you, it creates the impression of audio coming from everywhere, not just from left or right, but from behind, from the top, which is just a absolute, it's a blast to create audio like that. It's just have so much more information. So in this last project, we just manipulated audio in this spatial way to create a richer experience with voices from different languages. We could move them around in your head, and it creates this impression that you are inside an environment, and it's just great. So we use this to reproduce spatial audio in the virtual dome, which hopefully you will all see and enjoy, which is present in this event, our latest work. So I think my contributions were those. This is just, again, it's been a real good time working with all of you. Congratulations for the great event, and I'm looking forward for the next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Guto. And it's really amazing how audio makes such a great difference to the actual visuals and the role that it plays. And as we work through this, you actually see the role that the audio has played. Next, we have Camila, who will tell us a little bit about the production process that the Lab Inter went through in creating the project.
Thanks. Bom dia no Brasil and good afternoon in South Africa, Durban. My name is Camila dos Santos, or Camila Vermelho. Nice to meet you. And first, I'd like to thanks for this opportunity and congratulate everybody for the event challenge, especially now in pandemic's time. And I'm so glad to be here representing part of Lab Inter's researchers and our partners in Virtual Monuments Project. Bárbara Almeida, Calixto Bento, Cristiano Figueiró, Fabiane Duarte, Matheus Moreno, Milena Jafir, Natália Faria, and our Dutch partners, Nira Singh, Tasnim Sidat, Luianda Zindela, and Interdisciplinary Lab. So starting, I have only 2 years in Labinter. And Labinter has almost 10 years of existence. I entered there with the project Virtual Monuments last year. And I discover and I learn every day with Labinter's methodology, with collaborative work. Virtual Monuments is a great example of this exchange between Brazil and South Africa. But last year we had the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Then we could work on the streets, street markets, on crowding places, capturing audios and videos from the city and their movements. And we could be together in Labinter's office in Santa Maria, questioning the power positions of the official history and official monuments and official memories, the opposition between center and periphery, giving to unknown people the position in the center of our narrative. We started the creative process last year talking about our first monuments ideas with Luianda's visit to Santa Maria and Andrea's visit to Durban. And the virtual drives to put and share our materials were so important to us, with images from different places. We taught a poetic of empowerment with independence to the images, to walk between center and periphery of the screen. And concepts of expanded cinema, experiencing different kinds of projection, dome, full dome, and video mapping. Last year, for example, we could share the first Virtual Monuments video in Galileo Galilei Planetary in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and in Durban in the last DigiFest. And in Santa Maria, of course, with the Planetários UFSM partnership on that occasion in Ephemera Festival, curated by Mateus Moreno and Andrea Oliveira. But comparing last year with this year, the methodology didn't change so much, except for the virtual work fully time. Virtual meetings 1 or 2 times per week, if necessary, and talks on WhatsApp anytime. And we discussed just online how to capture images and sounds now, and how to make a visual and sound poetic that represents these days. The ideas about windows captures were one way, not only physical windows, but virtual windows too, including the computer's windows. And now the sounds and the speed of these windows, the changes, the flux, the virtual time nowadays. And we put all the material for the project, CounterMonuments version this year, in a drive like last year, our virtual place. And everybody put your hands on the videos and sounds, organizing, choosing different kinds of editors, open source editor, transforming a narrative of CounterMonuments, asking and experiencing different kinds of projection, especially virtual full dome that we can see in this DigiFest. Before the pandemic, in the beginning of the year, we could experience the video mapping projection too, in campus open mapping, curated by Calixto Bento. And today, virtual projection in 3D including by the cell phone, providing multiple interactive and immersive experience. Today, the project is always under construction, learning with the challenges of this world that we don't know, but we think about how the world will be in the future. And we want to contribute with this world, with art, science, and technology. We can see in the screen some images. This image is the first edition of Campus Open Mapping, a projection in video mapping, and the last images were about the projection in Planetários UFSM and Galilei Planetary in Buenos Aires. So thank you so much for the attention and listening and for this opportunity.
Oh, thank you very much. And I will agree, there's a lot of energy and a lot of discussion and a lot of sharing of information in these discussions, and the collaboration that we go through in preparing these exhibitions. We will talk about a little bit about how the same presentation exhibition was presented in Durban, because in Durban we did not have a dome to present the virtual monuments, and so we had to be very creative about how to present this. I'm going to call on Naresh Singh, who will give us a little bit more about how we went about this in Durban.
Hello, hi everybody. For me, it was a challenge because the team had done some great work creating this video, and it was for me to now showcase this video on our end. And we found out that there was no planetarium in Durban, and we looked into hiring a structure, and we found out that all the mobile planetariums come with projectors that only project still images. So the team on both ends, we had a lot of discussion, and we explored many other ways of doing it. There was also, we were also thinking of building a dome and then projecting it within the dome. And eventually what we ended up doing is building a circular structure and changing the aspect ratio of the video. So if you think the dome production is somebody standing in the center of a sphere and looking all around. So what we did is then we cut out the view, the circular view, with an aspect ratio of, so it's actually 4:1. So 4:1 aspect ratio projected with 4 projectors in a circular environment to give you that immersive experience. And that's how we managed to create, showcase the video here. And many thanks to the team at Lab Inter, because they managed to change the aspect ratio and incorporate the essence of their work and give us that video so we could showcase it here. CounterMonuments in its present form delves into the connected, disconnected entanglements of living in a COVID-19 world. Presented within a 3D rendering of a planetarium environment, the images and sounds from both Brazil and South Africa were composited to construct a 360-degree video. These encounters can be experienced in virtual reality as well.
Institutions and positions of power have sort of steered or exerted their power on shared collective by choosing what
ficar em casa, a quebra de tudo aquilo que eu achava que ia acontecer durante o ano.